In the studio with me is Kehinde Adegbulugbe, Lagos State Chairman of the Action Alliance. Joining online is the PDP Chairmanship Candidate, Thessy Whyte, as well as George Ashiru, who is the Lagos State Chairman of the African Democratic Congress, ADC. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. We don't have Thessy yet. As soon as we have her connected, I will introduce her again. A lot was, let me come to you, Kehinde. A lot was said today about the entire process. As a participant in today's conversation and a key player in the entire process, what would be some of the key submissions today that stood out for you and deserves further scrutiny?
Well, it was, thank you once again for having me here, and the platform for making it possible for us to air our views and talk about the core of the matter. From what we had today, I was able to see that different political parties have their grievances, have things they went through that election period. And I also, as a party chairman, I had candidates that were on the field too and went through this same thing. I will say that the matter starts from the beginning. From LASEC down to the polling units, the whole system had issues. And this is not just a body that just started yesterday, that you say they're having hiccup issues or they're having teething issues. No, this is a body that has been there for quite a while. And if they're having this type of issues, then we should all come together and come back and say, look, what is wrong? If we have to go back to the to the House of Assembly and say this thing has to be amended, we need electoral reforms. The way it worked now did not work for us. The way they did it did not. Look, some parties collected their agent tags 12 midnight. That means they collected on that same day of the election. There were so many discrepancies, so many things like that that made. So it started from the beginning. And when you see things like that start from the beginning, you know at the end point is going to be a disaster.
Yeah, I'm hoping we have a few minutes more. I will ask you about the specific electoral reforms you're referencing. But let's bring in George and just ask him about the LASEC no-show today. The MD of New Central raised pertinent submission in his closing remarks about the importance of LASEC's participation in dialogues like this. I mean, even in the introduction, we talked about the possibility that there was some miscommunication and all of that, but they are the ones that can speak for themselves. So what were your thoughts when this conversation came up today?
I mean, impunity is the word, impunity. The idea that a body that is funded by the taxpayers does not feel that it owes the taxpayers any form of explanation except for a client journalism kind of arrangement where you decide the media you want and you bring them to your office and you tell them what they want to hear. This is impunity. This is an example of the reason we keep saying that the democracy we practice in Nigeria consists of the right to select our rulers or our dictators. You know, the consistency with which you find people not wanting to subject themselves to campaign to debates. For example, in the last general election, where you had candidates of certain parties shunning debates where the citizens should have the chance to ask you, what do you stand for? How do you intend to govern? How are you going to use our resources? What are your priority areas? And you don't even feel the need to talk to the people. It is because you feel that no matter what the people want, you are sure you are going to win because you have some kind of arrangement, because that's the message you're showing to us. Now, for LASEC to also now be seen in that light of having the same culture of not wanting to be part of any kind of public discourse, it makes us feel that there's some kind of tag team going on, you know, with this party in particular and LASEC in itself, because the behavior is the same, you know. And so if it looks like a rabbit, talks like a rabbit, it's probably a rabbit. So I think all of us were essentially given the understanding today that this organization LASEC does not feel the need to report to us. Look, the Nigerian police was there. the Nigerian Civil Defense was represented by their public relations officers. So why couldn't we have quality representation? It doesn't matter. You know, scrutiny is part of governance. Anybody who is in government who does not want to be scrutinized, they have no business in government. Any organization set up by the government funds that does not want to make itself available for public scrutiny has no business existing. And it is this impunity itself that is the reason we have malgovernance, misgovernance, and everything that is negative in terms of governance in Nigeria. Federal level, state level, even local government level. And this, unfortunately, is a historical fact. It just keeps going on and on and on and on. And I think it's an opportunity for people, the electorate, to begin to ask themselves, okay, it really is this one chance. Is this what we thought we were getting in 1999 when we said, let us have the right to vote? Only for us to be told now that your right to vote doesn't consist the right to hold us to account. Okay. That needs to change. And I think this is wrong. And that's one of the things that we believe political parties will use as a campaign message in the next election, that the bodies that we have themselves are not truly independent, they are not showing that they're independent, and they are not subjecting themselves to the people for accountability.
Kehinde, one of the curious submissions today was the choice of some parties to stay away from the election. We also heard of parties who say that their names were not on the ballot. Some say they were last-minute movement of polling units without prior notice. With all, I mean, this was an opportunity to, beyond venting, look for a way forward. What is the next move for some of these parties? For you, you were a candidate in the exercise, right? So what's the next move? Are you planning to take matters to court? Or do you look to maybe go back, regroup, and come back stronger in the next election?
Yes, so if you say, are we going to take the matter to court? How many people will take matters to court? Even for parties that are not as financially buoyant as they should be. I mean, to take issues to court will cost each candidate nothing less than 2 million. To take it all the way to the 2 million, nothing less than 2 million. How much the councillor invest in his campaign? I mean, he must not have invested up to 2 million. Do you understand? So the major thing I'm saying is we need to all regroup, come back stronger. Like we said today in that in the meeting, you can't say you are not getting involved. You can't say as an opposition you don't want to get involved because we know that they are going to rig it anyways. We know that they are going to, that they are just going to choose and select. No, it's a battle. You can't sit at home and watch. Then you can never be a victor. There's always a chance for you of being a victor. So you have to go out there, pushing and say, look, I will stand out here and make myself known. Whether you like it or not, you will see me. Okay. I will be here.
George, some parties have rejected the election results, like I mentioned earlier, citing irregularities, lack of transparency, and all of that. What do you think is the implication of these reactions for the legitimacy of the election outcome? And add to that, conversations around voter apathy and the role it's also play in legitimizing some of the irregularities that we see.
All right, thank you. Again, what was observed in the whole process that has led to this outcry is the sense that the rules are not the same for everybody. And the fact that there was a lot of information that was withheld or provided, at the last minute, which then made the candidates, put candidates in a kind of like a difficult position between, a hard rock and the Dead Sea. And I think that's one of the reasons you have seen today that a lot of the chairmen of those parties and the candidates were really very angry. People will invest their time, their energy, their money. Information did not come on time. Parties were not called early, to convey the right information to them. Certain kinds of information were withheld on the last minute. For example, that there was a life-saving law signed in January and was only made available on the eve of the release of the guidelines. So the guidelines that were used to set up the elections were based on a law that nobody had seen until after the guidelines were released. So these were anomalies that made it clear that it was intentional, because it should not be. many things that are required to govern the country should be public knowledge as soon as they are made into law. And this should be something that will be based even on our feedback, you know, on our scrutiny. So these were the reasons to find that a lot of those parties now felt that, okay, it looks like this, we are heading towards an answer when the question had not even been asked. So that is that part of it. And you see, this is what dovetails into voter apathy, because the voters hear of this, they see this manifesting around their areas, they know these candidates in their own various houses and wards and local government. They hear the same thing all over again. And they've been hearing it since 1999. It's one story after the other. And like I said again, and I'm saying it again, like I said before, that people are beginning to believe that this is a one-chance democracy that we have.
And more time.
The idea that young people are constantly planning their future around, in quotes, Japan.
Quite unfortunate, really. Things need to change. We're hoping we still get some response from LISEC in the coming days. George Ashiru, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate your time. And Kehinde Adegbulugbe, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you.